Greetings, this is Canon Lowy, and I wanted to make a video of self-reflection on one of the videos that I've made in the past, and give you an idea of what the Arknights clip process for me is, and the various different aspects of each story scene that I look at. What am I looking for? So, the video that I'm going to be referring throughout this video is the Arknights Anthony and Kafka Start Their Jailbreak, which is one of my least popular story clips that I've made so far, in terms of both views as well as you can see here, the likes, and also had a dislike on it. So I wanted to do a reflection of this video of what could I have done to improve it, what aspects of it did I like or not like about it. So going into the major elements that I look at. So the first one, and these are not really in like a order of importance, it's more of a complete package here. So when I have them numbered, just keep that in mind. So I have subject matter, video length, editing, impact/entertainment value, and feedback I want to address as well. So the first one, subject matter, some things that come to my mind is when I'm looking at a story scene, what is the focus of the clip? Is it purely for entertainment, like the roast videos, or is it an emotional scene? Is it just really important to the core plot of the story? And so on and so on. And then also I put in here the thumbnail and title. So what kind of thumbnail do I want to make for it, and what am I going to title that video is also equally important in that regard. So if you've noticed, I have a pretty solid format of what I do for thumbnails, which is just do a screenshot from the scene in question, and I feel like that works really well, especially on my side of things, because they are actually really easy to make. It's just making a screenshot and then cropping it to be a zoomed in image, and I feel like that also gives you, the viewer, an idea of what the scene is, or at the very least where the scene is. So for an example, if you've read an event story and I make a thumbnail of a certain character with a certain background, you probably have a decent idea of where that clip is in the story. And I feel like that works really well. So for both of us, with it being relatively easy, because I don't honestly really know how to make custom thumbnails with like elaborate art or anything, and I have made a number of clips where I wasn't really sure what to do for the title, but for the most part I feel like I have done a decent job with both of those things. So the next thing that I want to bring up is the video length. I try to make each of my clips less than 2 minutes, and my goal is around 1 minute or less. So the reason is because when I first started making these story clips, I did make a few story clips that are around 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and comparatively speaking, they did very poorly, especially with the boom, so to say, with Near Light. They did significantly worse, and I wasn't really satisfied with them, and I came to the conclusion that if it took over 2 minutes for the punchline, so to speak, it wasn't really worth it then, unless the scene in question was just that impactful. Then maybe I would be willing to do it, but for the most part, like, it has to be an exceptionally special moment for me to make it over 2 minutes. and my overall goal is to make it a minute or less. So, looking at the video that I mentioned earlier, you can bring that up if you want to follow along. So for that scene regarding the subject matter, Anthony and Kafka go over their plan of the jailbreak that they have set up, making sure that they both know what the plan is, and and everything. And then the video length is, as you can see here, 1 minute and 40 seconds long, so it's definitely on the longer end. But we'll stop by that in a little bit here. So for editing, what editing is involved? Do I need to do any editing? For the most part, for each of the story clips that I make, I try to make the scene unedited, and the reason is because I want the scene to kind of speak for itself. Obviously, there are clips that I'm willing to add in extra edits or memes, or if I have to edit like a 3 or 4 minute scene down to a 2-minute scene, if I can get away with that, I will. And then number 2, are any of the edits jarring to see in the video, which I will bring that up for the video that I'm going to be looking at. Number 3, do the additional edits, for an example, memes, make the clip better? So another reason why I have it so that most of my clips speak for themselves or go without any edits at all is because I have seen a few clip channels of VTubers, for an example, and a few of them decide to put in tons of various edits throughout the video, and I came to the conclusion that for me, I didn't think that was worth doing, number 1, and number 2, it didn't really add enough to justify it, and in some cases actually took away from the video having that many different edits in it. So I decided that I'm going to primarily make each of these clips purely unedited if I can get away with it, and let them speak for themselves. I feel like that is better for both you and me. But when I do add a meme or edit down a lengthy clip into a shorter clip, how do I make it best to add to the clip? If I don't feel like it adds to the clip, then I'm either not gonna add the meme at all or something along those lines. And then the 4th thing is transitions. So do I need to add transitions? Typically, I probably will just use a fade to black transition, or a few of mine have had transitions like some dialogue later, or one stage fight later, and stuff like that, just to show, like, yes, this went from, say, before the battle to after the battle for a specific scene, and so on and so on. So, The next thing that I want to cover is impact and entertainment value. Is how good do I find the clip in question? And a question that I ask myself is, would I personally watch it? Like, if I wasn't doing this, would I go out of my way to watch it? Like, that kind of makes a big difference for me. And then also worth the clip length. So when I make like a nearly 2 minute long clip, is the clip entertaining enough, so to speak, to be worth being that amount of time? And then, okay, so now that we've gotten to this point, let's take a look at the video that I mentioned at the beginning, and how all of my elements kind of went into play on this story clip, and how I feel like it could have been better, what I liked or didn't like about it. So now getting into it, the very start of this shows a bit of action between the characters, and some of the various prisoners in the Mansfield Break event. And then they go over, like I said, their plan of what their escape plan is. So, a few things that I want to look at is that later on, the main reason why I decided to actually make this clip in the first place was Kafka's personality primarily. So, lines like this. And then Anthony's mention of Kafka liking the prison break in general, and then Kafka's response and everything. But one thing that I do really want to bring up is the editing portion. So, right here, I think it is, which is really close to here. So yes, right here. So this is a very important moment, learning moment for me, and I feel like it really takes away a little bit from the scene here, is the transition, or lack thereof, of this right here. So I actually made an edit to get it under 2 minutes. Kafka talks about Doma making clothes for Anthony, and Anthony talking about how since he is so big, that are there clothes that fit him and everything. So we go from that to this right here, and I feel like that is, even for me looking at this, that is very jarring to see, going from this with Kafka and Anthony on the screen here to all of a sudden having the jailer here and then Kafka being right here. Now, the dialogue sort of fits with what Kafka was talking about edited here, and that's why I made that. But without any kind of transition, I feel like it really took away from the scene here. Just it is just too sudden of a change that it's like, whoa, what's going on? And especially with the music and everything, you can probably tell where I edit some of those longer scenes. But with the music and stuff, if I can make it look smooth enough, like I'm not worry about adding more to it, but I really want to emphasize this point here of, like, visually speaking, as well as what is going on, like, that is just way too sudden. And I should have added either a fade to black or something like that to make it so that it isn't just like right there. So that's the biggest problem that I find with this. And like I said, I primarily chose to make this because of Kafka's personality and how Anthony talks about it, and I thought that would make this clip to be worth making. And in some regards it sort of was, but not to the degree that I'm satisfied with. So getting back into my slideshow here, so getting to the end, or the overall thing. So hopefully I touched on everything regarding this clip in particular, and these are just the major things that I think about when making each of my clips and self-reflecting on which part of these elements could I have done better on some of my past Arknight story clips that I've made. And getting to the end here, for feedback, I really like hearing feedback. I'm actually quite a big appreciator of feedback. Either it's through the likes or dislikes and stuff like that. Just to see how many of you like each of these scenes, and if there's one that's unpopular, I can look at it and say, well, what could I have done better here? Is it because of any of those things? Is it because just the subject wasn't seemingly important enough? Was it because of the title? Was it because of the thumbnail? And various things like that. And one thing that I really want to mention is that with number 2 here, commenting directly on what you think I could improve on a particular scene is huge. Especially because on a few of these, there isn't, to me anyway, like an obvious thing that I really have a problem with, and yet it doesn't do as well, and I'm kind of just scratching my head, like trying to, being very, just not really getting what necessarily went wrong. If anything, maybe it's just because, like, for an example, with Mansfield Break Rerun, maybe it was because it was a rerun, maybe it was one thing or the other. But I recall on one of my videos, like, asking for requests. I think it was at least the Mansfield Break, not the Mansfield Break one, the Near Light one, and maybe even the Mansfield Break one. The videos that I made to make requests, like, even got 1 dislike. And one thing I want to emphasize is that I welcome dislikes for my clips. Like, if there is something majorly wrong that you are unsatisfied with, I welcome dislikes as a form of feedback. I just encourage you to write a comment on directly saying, hey Canon, there's a lack of a transition here and I find it jarring, or there's one thing or the other that I don't specifically like about it. I really appreciate comments like that. And one thing that I wanted to really get into when I started making these story clips and I started getting more of a community is that I do want to be more of a community-focused channel. If there's things you want me to do, let me know. And that's primarily why I made those 2 videos of, you know, if you want me to do a specific clip request, let me know. And that's what those videos are for, is to give all of you a chance to let me know if there's a story clip that you want me to make, and maybe I missed a few good moments in each of the events, and have me look at them. But just as an example, like seeing the dislike on the request videos, it kind of just makes me more confused than anything. I mean, I don't think I've really said anything misleading or incorrect in those videos. Like, they're primarily for if you want a request done before the event ends or before I start doing another event. That's what those are for, because I prioritize whatever current event is going on, and in between events then I have more of a freedom, like with contingency contract and everything. That was gave me the opportunity to do more main story clips and look into those. But that is sort of my system, and if there's anything that you want to let me know on, or what you think of it, let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I've learned a few lessons with this, and stay sane, doctors.